Okay, so body image. I think this is going to be a very different talk. Like, I've definitely done this before in the years since CCA started, which is like a decade now, which is nuts. I've definitely done these Zooms before. And I think it's going to be from a different perspective today as someone who got absolutely rocked by preeclampsia. So the majority of my weight gain just skyrocketed at the very end of my pregnancy and then throughout like the beginning of my postpartum journey. So it's a very, and my body has never been this composition before. Like this is truly the first time in my life I've had this body. So I felt like it was really important to deliver this talk now with that different perspective in mind than I ever did before. Because it's a whole like slew of stuff I couldn't necessarily relate to before that I can now. So let's get into it. I think the biggest thing for us is I always care about people understanding that there's so much more to us than our weight. There's so much more to us than the shape of our bodies, the cellulite that we have, the what jiggles, like all of that stuff that makes each and every one of us different. There is so much more. That is the least interesting part of all of us. And you know this if you're in CCA, but I feel it's important to reiterate your health is not dependent on how small you are either. So, that being said, I did go into this journey thinking like I do want to lose weight, but how do I reconcile that with all of the things that I preach and teach when it's not about aesthetics? It's not about wanting to look a certain way or be deemed appropriately thin enough or anything, especially these days with all the crazy like, everybody's having a transformative experience these days, it seems. So um how do you reconcile the two? We live in a very like body positive time for as much as we've gone backwards with like thin being the fad, which is crazy. Again, I never thought it would be like it was when I was growing up. But there's also this like weirdness where it's either you're like all about weight loss and it's your whole personality trying to lose weight or trying to tell people how to lose weight, right? Or you're not allowed. Who's experienced that weirdness where you have to like love yourself no matter what. So you can't even talk about wanting to lose weight. That's negative. That's fat shaming. That's fat phobic. But like the extreme, and on the other side of it, people having it be all consuming and disordered. What is the middle ground there? Like, where's the gray area, it seems, especially when you have health problems that cause, that affect your weight. How do you talk about that weight loss journey without pissing somebody off, right? It's like impossible. It's absolutely impossible. Let me see what you guys are saying on the chat here. Mo, I remember when you painted it. Oh my God, I remember when I painted this ceiling too. My neck still hurts. Um, yeah, everybody's on Ozempic these days, and I have a part. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna broach the subject today and talk about that, but it's definitely changed society, that's for sure. Um, things took a sharp turn. The anti-diet community made me feel such guilt for even wanting to lose weight. I think that's so harmful. I think it's important that if we're trying to remove the negativity surrounding weight, right? And you feel, I admittedly like this journey has been eye-opening for some of the stuff that I've even said in the past, which I'm gonna try not to tangent, we'll get to it. But I think it's a detriment to recovery to make anything taboo. You know, I think if you really try to get into it, it would be, well, why do you want to lose weight? Do you want to lose weight because you feel it's the only reason you deserve to wear a certain bathing suit? Then that's something we should work on. But do you want to lose weight because you'd like to tie your fucking shoes? Like that's okay. Like do you want to lose weight because you'd like to walk up some steps and not feel like you're gonna keel over? Like so that's not necessarily the viewpoint I would have had if I didn't have to have a sharp shove back into that department to really look at it and say, wait a minute, how could it be unhealthy to want these things for myself? There's like there's a middle ground, it shouldn't be a taboo topic no matter what. So, okay, before I get way off base. Anybody, oh my God, hold on. Water break. Getting so into this talk. I'm very excited. Let me see. Military's whole personality is self-hating, diet all the time. It's so difficult. Oh my God. And the comments, like, Becca, I think of you every time I'm like seeing people respond horribly in the comments on Instagram. I have to tell you, I think of you with the people you work with. It's so hard. I give you so much credit. I could not imagine. I would be sent home. Like I can't, they'd be like, you can't work here. You're uncivilized. Um, Anti-diet is all well and good if you don't have chronic illness as well. We aren't quote unquote normal. Absolutely. And it's wrong to make people feel like they should be held accountable for some kind of like it's not a moral code of whether or not you have chronic illness that affects your weight. What's the morality? There's no morality to it. It's just like something that you have that you didn't ask for that happened. It could be like if you have certain freckles, if you have like there's different things that are caused by genetics, there's things that are caused by illness, and I think that weight is just society wants to be so fat phobic that no matter what, you can't talk about wanting to lose weight. You haven't lost weight fast enough. You don't do enough to lose weight. There's no one can ever win. If you are of a certain size, you can't win. So I think it's kind of like we have to decide for ourselves, what do we want? What kind of body image do we want? Why are we doing the things we're doing? What is the reason that we're doing them? Are we doing them from a place of if I get to this point, I'll have better body image? Because that's never going to happen. There will be some other post will move once you get there. If you need to get to a place before you have good body image. But I think part of that is like allowing yourself to want to pursue results, you know? Okay, getting off topic. So, well, I have it in here to say my story, even though I did just like blab a little bit. But basically, I think it's been eye-opening. I was talking to someone today about it, is that for as long as I've been teaching you guys about body image and I've, been teaching about body neutrality, right? Getting to a point where you don't have to sit there and like quote unquote love your body and like grab it in rapture. Like that shit's not even real online, I feel. Like when people like it's great if it is, wonderful. But I think it's not normal to like have such a idea of what you look like. Such a love of yourself. It's good to be at a place where it doesn't really freaking matter what you look like. It doesn't have anything to do with your health. And that's what I've been preaching. And then, like I was saying before, I gained a tremendous amount of weight. Like, I want to say I probably gained close to 100 pounds, which, like, definitely put me where I was before. Now, mind you, I'm saying that, and I did not weigh myself the whole time. I did not. I got on, anytime I had to weigh in, I got on the scale backwards. But I still fit in my clothes up until the end. And up until the end is when the majority of that weight came. And I say the end, like, the baby was almost 2 months preemie, so the end of my pregnancy, basically. But that's when the preeclampsia kicked in. And it was rapid. I had no time to adjust. I had no time to like walk myself through the process and be like, okay, and get used to having a different face, a different walk, a different everything. And you might think, well, okay, you're having a baby. Listen, that baby was 4 pounds. Okay? Like it wasn't all the baby. It was just what my body did in the process of having a baby. These I say it all the time, like I'm not a naturally small quote unquote person. I've never been. I've always had, type 1 diabetes since I was 7, PCOS, Hashimoto's. I've had it my whole life. So I've never expected to like have a pregnancy where my body didn't change. I didn't not expect to have this process after, oh my God, I'm losing my voice, of getting used to a different body. But it hit so quick that I really didn't anticipate it. And this is someone who is in the health space, has been doing this for 10 years now. Every day of my life, I spend, trying to walk the walk, talk the talk, and enforce these things. And here I am. I couldn't help but feel bad about the way I looked. And that's after two losses. That's after, like, I wanted Angelo so bad for the longest. I mean, I can't say that without crying, but I wanted Angelo for the longest time. So there's a tremendous amount of guilt in criticizing your body when not only are you a health coach and you try to support people all day every day, but you've gotten everything you've wanted for the longest time. It's 10 years of work to get to the point of having him. And it felt so crazy to sit here and be like, I'm picking on myself because my arms look fat. Like, how crazy is that? But that's the society we live in. You can't escape it. You can learn to work around it where you don't walk around carrying a horrible body image. But I think absolutely everybody, if you have eyes and you are not living off the grid, like you are going to have exposure of something that tests your sense of body image, weight gain or not, let alone, the stuff we deal with. And, I think it's what I got to the point of saying to myself was, I don't have to like it. I don't have to like it. I don't have to be a fan of the body that I'm in right now. I could say I miss the body I got really used to, and I have the whole neurodivergent side of things where, like I said, I didn't have, like, I don't even know how I would have adjusted if I did have time and it was slow, but it just felt like something I was so used to was like ripped away from me. And that hadn't happened to me in a very long time. So even though I spent all this time trying to grow, I got to the point of saying, I don't have to like it. I can just exist in this moment. I can focus on all the other things and I don't have to put the pressure on myself of liking myself, but I don't have to carry or liking the way I look, but I don't have to carry this idea of I look gross, I look bad, I don't deserve things. When am I going to get thin? How much weight am I losing? All of that bullshit. I didn't need any of that to still focus on what I wanted to do for my health. I couldn't do that until I made peace with the idea that I did want to lose weight. I started thinking about like I miss doing like back in the day I did furniture refinishing. And I was like, one of my and it's such like a weird thing, but that's like one of my favorite once the weather's nice and I can be outside or I can put in my garage. Not that I might not have nearly as much time for that nowadays, but it was one of my favorite physical activities to do. And like I couldn't walk through a supermarket without being absolutely exhausted, like from front side of the supermarket, so I got to the dairy area, I was like, I needed to take breaks. I couldn't walk throughout Costco without needing like actual breaks. Like I hurt putting pants on, like all of these things I remembered from like back in the day. It's been a while, and I was like, how could it be healthy? How could we have a healthy body image if we're not allowed to be like, that sucks? You know? What's the problem with acknowledging that that's not an enjoyable way to live and to want to work on that? So, hold on. I had so many calls today. This is why I want to do this lesson because I call it, oh shit, it's almost summer season. So like everybody's body image issues I feel like are starting to thaw out for the summer and it's a crazy time. Hopefully my voice holds out for the rest of this. But biggest takeaways so far. Anything that you're connecting with or relating, tell me in the chat if you are up to sharing, you know. Um, but I as I continue to realize all of this and give I don't want to say give space to it anymore because I think of the press for Wicked. But like as I give space to feeling, like I'm not in a place I wanted to be in my body, that I didn't hate myself for it. I didn't hate wasn't picking on myself for it, but I was allowed to be like, yeah, I'm not happy here. I want to change this. what I thought about was every time in the past, because there was the initial time that I lost the 80 pounds, and then there was the pandemic time where the stress itself caused me to flare, and then I lost weight then again. The two times that that happened, what was it that did it? And I say this to you guys, but I need to remind myself. And that is I stopped caring about losing weight for aesthetics. I stopped caring about losing weight for any kind of positive, perception of myself by others. Like I started only saying, I want to be more physically. Remember when I did the New Year's Zoom on this? I want to feel more physically strong. I want to be able to walk more. I want to be able to get on the floor easier because now the baby's playing on the floor. And if I can't even get down on the floor to play, like that, I feel like shit, like I started honing in on my goals themselves. I wanted to feel more energy, you know? A lot of the stuff I hear from you guys, I don't make up the fact, not that I think anyone thinks this, but as a reiteration, I don't make up the fact that I know what it's like, you know? My body is not one that just plays ball. It requires maintenance. So, I hope sharing this is helpful to you guys. But I had to stop caring about the bullshit. And my body image had to be focused on I exist. I'm allowed to exist. I don't need to sit here and be attractive to people. I don't need to sit here and be anything to people. I got shit to do. I want to feel better. I'm not going to add that to my load. I got enough to do. It doesn't benefit me to care about it. Just kept repeating that stuff. And that's my body image. It's not one of, I'm so happy. I love everything. It's one of like, I don't have I don't give a shit, you know? And in not giving a shit, like I don't say that to be like I don't care if I look like I live under a bridge, right? Like I don't give a shit what I look like, but like without fretting, worrying about how I look, criticizing how I look, just able to live and focus on health. And as a byproduct of that, now, I've lost about 30 pounds of that. And I'm finding new things like this hoodie didn't zip when I got home. Right? Certain pants I couldn't wear, I can wear now. I'm getting closer to wearing my rings again. You know, I think my face is starting to look different. I have like eyes again, These are little things I'm looking at along the process, and I'm refusing to have a bad body image along the way. I'm just not giving it the time of day when I'm working on everything else. Okay, let's see. I'm scrolling. Okay, so bodies definitely freak out during pregnancy. Like, I swear it was crazy. I mean, I've worked with plenty of people who've been pregnant. You think I would have expected it, but my God. I also realized how many people go into hiding when when they're pregnant because I feel like all we see are like I would used to call them like the bump only pregnancies. And like I know there are plenty of people who are not bump only pregnancies, you know? So the hormone surges don't help either with body image. Oh no, hormone surges make you think some wild things, across the board at any juncture, especially when you got shit like we have. Relating to this so much, didn't realize the extent of my body dysmorphia until my loss. It's really hard. You really start to realize how much worth you have in aesthetics and size and all of that perception of self. Um, let's see. Yeah, I have something written here about that exact thing. Summer is my least favorite season because of my body image. It's hard. And if anyone is willing to share, I'm happy that it's relatable and you guys are finding it helpful. But if anyone wants to share, if there are still some negative body image things that you're having a hard time of letting go, I'm more than happy if you're willing to do it, to send it in the chat. I'm willing to work with you on that, to try and re flip the script on it, let's say. instead of just telling you don't think like that, you know? 100%, 1000% relate. I am so glad that you're here. I relate to pretty much all of it. And not even for body image, but I'm also dreading summer because I'm so uncomfortable being this big in the heat with pots. Yep, absolutely. My thyroid swung from like very, very low and like needing a much higher dose of medicine to then go after pregnancy, it swung the other way and went really fast. And I had to really cut back my thyroid medicine. And when it was really, really fast, the unbelievable like hot flashes that would come over me, like whew, this shit started from my toes, and then my pots would be activated all day long. I had to take electrolytes like the whole bit, like had to go into a whole protocol over it. It's the worst. And people are like, what is it, a little dizzy? No. Ugh. Um, Struggling with the idea that not caring about it leads to the weight loss. That's a really hard one. That's a really hard one. I would love to unpack that. Let me just make sure it's not in order. Worst hot flashes of my life, being big and steroids. Yeah, no, it's no fun. So like why the hell aren't we allowed to say this, you know? Or I should say, how can we possibly process it all if we're not allowed to actually call it out, you know? So, all right, let's unpack struggle we're gonna unpack Chastity's comment here and then we'll move on to Mo's. So struggling with the idea about not caring about it leads to the weight loss, right? So the biggest thing to remember if we're to flip that around is to think about it as you can't scream at yourself to lose weight, right? Like if you scream at a kid who's trying to learn something, are they going to learn anything or are they just going to feel like shit and like failures and like maybe give up and not try as hard because I just suck at this? You know, so it's not my most eloquent comparison, but the idea is not that not caring about it means that you're just going to throw caution to the wind and do things that at the opposite like sabotage you or are a detriment to the results that you want. You're just saying that instead of saying my motivation for this is because I just want to get thin, when the reason that you are having the weight issues is a medical issue, is an issue of fixing, you know, let's say healing binge eating disorder, if there are these big boulders in the way, focusing on those things from a place of overall health, I mean, if it's the thing causing the weight, if you fix the things, the weight changes, right? So it's that's why I'm saying it's not like you not caring. Like I don't care if I look like a bridge troll. I'm just gonna live my life. Like I mean, shit, go ahead, do that. You're not hurting anyone, even if you do decide to do that. But when it comes to healing this kind of stuff, I think it's if you're sitting there and timing it out because you're like, "Oh, I hate the way I look. I want to get thin. Like, and it's like a negative thing that's driving you there. It's gonna cause so many hiccups and so many like fuck ups that are going to put you back further from the goal rather than redirecting your focus to the underlying culprit for the weight to begin with. It just becomes this distraction thinking about it too much versus thinking of the mechanics of what needs to change to get there, you know? And if we're create a situation where we can be mad at ourselves for not doing something right, that's what causes that fuck up. So, let me see. I want to make sure I got all your replies here. I feel like not paying attention to my body is how I gained 100 pounds in college, even when being more active. Haven't been able to lose that weight still. Right, but the idea is instead of paying attention to your body from a place of like, oh my God, I'm getting fat, right? Because we've all been there, we've all said that to ourselves, and like picking ourselves apart or having a negative self-image. Instead, you're coming to it from a place of, I am going to pay attention to my body from a place of, how do I serve it best? How do I take care of it the best way? How do I feel the best? How do I fix this imbalance that's going on and maintain that? You know, so I can get to a healthy place. because you wouldn't hold on to that weight and be unhealthy if you work on the things that make you healthier. You know what I mean? So it's not saying like screw it. I mean, again, I don't, if anyone, I have had clients that are literally like, help me be okay with saying screw it. To each their own with their journey. But if you're talking about illness related weight gain and wanting to get to a place where you feel better and not be feeling afraid to want weight loss, but also not like having a negative body image, that's the sweet spot. Caring, but it's like, I hate this quote because it reminds me of like every annoying teacher and bad manager I've ever worked for, but like work smarter, not harder. It's like that concept, you know? So ugh. That one, and I had a manager once that would, oh my God, she would say in the most grating New Jersey accent, she would go, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense all the time. And I hear it in my head. Like I can still hear her from across the whole plant. Anyway, so let's go back up. Okay. Not gonna lie, my kid is 12 and a half, and I don't think my body will ever went back to quote unquote normal, whatever that is. Pregnancy and birth definitely kicked everything into overdrive for sure. Absolutely. I've like said, and I'm like in a joking way, but not joking. I feel badly put back together. Like I'm it's just I can't explain. Like I mean I feel like other people would know, and those and a lot of us are going to know. Fun fact is that everything kind of feels badly put back together, and especially if you have any kind of illnesses like this and you have a predisposition for higher inflammation. And then it changes your whole body composition. Things are different just than they've ever been and ever will be. That's why there's so much the real bullshit comes when there's so much pressure put on us again from like some kind of a moral standpoint to look a certain way when our bodies change because of our hormones as we get older things change, our everything changes, so we can't stay fixed on one ideal body, you know um here in the chat. It's taking like 2.5 years for me to feel back to myself. I hear that a lot. Many days after pregnancy, when you're told, oh, 6-week appointment, have fun, everything is good. Oh, hell no, it was not good. It was not good. Absolutely. I will say though, I felt very fortunate. I think I was going to mention this before and I forgot to, but today earlier, another kickoff to this talk being so passionate is I was recounting my lovely time in the hospital. I was maybe 3 days out of giving birth. Like I just peed for the first time on my own after they took the catheter out. I am fresh. I am like half awake, and this cardiologist comes in with like my OB and everyone to discuss. I still had postpartum preeclampsia, so my blood pressure was crazy. So they come in to discuss the fluctuations and what to do with medicine. And I shit you not, this cardiologist comes there and he goes, well, weight loss would help. I was like so out of it, but I was like, now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, the things I would have said. My OB though, I had such a good team. She was like, well, she's like fresh out of surgery, so give her a minute. She's gonna need a minute. She was so mad that he said that, like so mad. And then at my 6-week appointment, she was like, give yourself all the time you need. Like your body is recovering. You're doing, great. Like she was so encouraging. But I can't forget that cardiologist. Like 3 days out. How crazy. Like I can't even walk yet. Like what do you mean? You know? Insane. So My motivation now is I want to feel better in general and strong with more energy. Hell yeah, but I'd be lying if I said a lot of it isn't to look good too. I want to feel sexy again, which I know is subjective. And look, I this is one of those things where I have a newfound perspective on it again now after going through it and seeing my body change, where maybe before I would have had a little bit of an easier time being like, you can feel that way at any size. And I do believe that. But I say it now knowing a little bit better how difficult that is. So it is doable to get to a point where you don't have to feel sexy because you look like what we're told is sexy, because that really is it. If this whole time we were just raised to believe that like B bellies were like the belly to have, then we'd all believe that that's the idea of sexy. So you almost can start to look at it from like a rebellion standpoint to say like I don't want to subject to that idea of like it has to be a certain format to be sexy. That being said, it would be much nicer to put on some nice lingerie and just fucking feel sexy, right? Like you don't want to have to like talk yourself through it and, you know, amp yourself up. But I think that you can allow yourself to work on the health, work on the energy, and say, I have enough time to do both. I have enough time to feel a hell of a lot better and get to a place where then I can, maybe my body will change. Because listen, I will say like even if a lot of people are on the GLP-1s and like all this stuff and they're losing rapid weight and having a lot of skin, like excess skin and loose skin, and that is also a huge hit, right? So at the end of the day, where's the goal point? At what point do we get to the point where we finally allow like actually feel sexy if we don't automatically look like the socially acceptable idea of sexy? If we don't have abs, if we don't have everything in place, where is the end of it? Unless we're able to work on that body image and not be a slave to convention like that. And I don't mean to say that like we're all here thinking about conventional beauty, but in the end, if we do only look a certain way to look that way, it becomes a real issue. Who actually looks this way? The people in those pictures don't even look that way. You don't think they sit there and like look at their skin or look at their, I got stretch marks. I got cellulite, like Mean Girls back in the day when they talk about like the freaking nail beds sucking. There's always another goalpost. So as hard as it is to be like, it would be so much better to look just conventionally good, to just look sexy and not have to worry about it. Yeah, it would be really nice to not have to deal with any of this shit. you know there is just no denying that. Can you imagine? I think about that regularly. I'm like, there are people who just wake up and that's the way they look. Like they've never had to think about any of this. you know they've never been at a doctor's office and then like be like, you should lose weight, and they went for like a sprained ankle, or something. So excuse me. Something to speak on dysmorphia before we were talking about it. I want to make sure that I don't miss out on these and keep you guys here forever. But I saw this video this week, and someone was saying in it, we, I don't know if this is true, but it was like a eye-opening thing to think about. We were never meant to perceive ourselves so much. We were never meant to like look into reflections or be on video or be in pictures or have things pop up that show us the way we looked 2 years ago today. Like we weren't meant to like on a biological, psychological level. How is that a part of our makeup? So um what did she say? She's like, we were meant to vaguely see our reflection in a puddle of water. Like, obviously, it's been, we've evolved, we have society, we have ways to see ourselves. But that just made me think, like, huh, how many people here put a one in the chat if you feel that you've ever had a hard time perceiving yourself? Like, have ever had a hard time knowing what you actually look like in your mind's eye? You catch a reflection, you catch a car window, and you look at it and you're like, I thought I looked entirely different. Oh my God, that's how I looked? You guys ever had that happen to you? Put a one in the chat if that has ever happened to you. You have a hard time perceiving yourself according to what you think exists out there. So, oh, it wasn't loading. I was like, no one's typing a one. I'm like, I call bullshit. But, yeah. Um, oh, I see all these comments now. Oh my God, none of these were loading. Okay. I will make sure I scroll up through all of this stuff. Okay, so anyway, but yeah, like we weren't meant to look at ourselves to the degree that we are looking at ourselves all the time. So, but here's the thing, when you are looking at yourself, how are you doing it? You're looking at a round lens, a lens that has to capture a whole scene in one picture. You're looking at a car window, which is curved. You're looking at a window which is not perfect in, like any kind of window surface, glass surface is never 100% perfectly straight. That alters reflection. You're looking at, according to lighting, the lighting of a picture completely changes everything. You're looking at clothing having a different impact. You're looking at anything, like so many things. You're also comparing it to posing in front of a mirror because we all do it. When we're looking to look at how we look like, we are not living in real life that way, okay? We're not sitting there like, like we're just walking, moving, sitting, eating, like we're just doing normal shit. But of course we're going to look different. Angles affect how we look. Oh my God. Angles affect how we look. Our discomfort, you can read that shit across a room. If someone is feeling like not comfy in their skin, if they're feeling like, oh my God, I wonder how I look, or they're posing for a picture and they're trying to position we've all done it. We're trying to position a body. I mean, I don't know, actually, I'm autistic, so it might be a bad judge of like, I've always like thought like, okay, you better be positioning yourself in a way that looks natural, but doesn't make you look like you're, too big in the picture and like all of this shit. Oh my God, what the hell do we look like? What do we look like? Who knows? All we can know is like other people see us how they see us. But it's a good indication if you've looked at at yourself from the past and you thought you looked absolutely horrible back then, but now you look at it and you're like, that's not so bad. What? I looked way worse than this. That's a, let me tell you, as someone who has had their life on the internet for the past 10 years, that is a trip. No matter how healed you are, I think you always have body dysmorphia. And I think that that shit just kicks you in the ass when you look at it. Like, I look at those time hop photos and I'm like, what? It is crazy. So, we're not meant to perceive ourselves this way and have this entire psychological dilemma of having to make sure, like, tell ourselves you don't look worse because you've aged, even though everywhere you look, you don't want to look old ever. You don't look worse because you're bigger. You don't look worse. Those are just things that we tell ourselves and things that we make horrible, for so many different reasons. And it starts with how we perceive ourselves. That's another reason why I say having the body image where like I don't care, like I'm not thinking about the way I look, I'm thinking on living my best life and being healthy and happy and all of that. It helps with this because you kind of can throw your hands in the air and be like, I don't know what the fuck I look like. I have no idea what I look like. Like, so I'm gonna wear, you've heard me say this in other Zooms, unless you're new, and then hello, this is my favorite. But cute on the hanger, comfy on the body, just wear the damn thing and try to have fun. And you will look way better than any other way, you know? And that's if you don't care about the way you look, you probably look better than if you're sitting there like super uncomfortable, hoping that a roll isn't showing while you can't breathe under 3 layers of freaking shapewear. Like, what does that do? It doesn't get anyone closer to being any thinner. It just makes life a little bit shittier, you know? You certainly can't enjoy anything that way. So, Okay, that's the end of my notes. So let's make sure I address all this stuff. And not for nothing, Mo to follow up, not for nothing having MS and knowing birth can literally cause me to relapse. It makes sense. Even the stuff with my hair and it breaking. Oh yeah, absolutely. Changes everything, and the a lot of times your body, and it was so annoying when doctors would tell me this because I'm like, I mean, great, but crap, is they're like, your body will pull it together and it'll go into remission. It'll get, a lot better while you're pregnant to make sure that all the energy goes to the baby. And then you give birth and then it's back to having problems and it's probably worse. Be like, cool, awesome, I love that. But you can always count on a doctor to help your confidence. Like I'm sitting there, like about to throw up my jello. Like all I want is more Toradol. Like please just get out of my room. you know? They're testing my blood pressure every 2 hours, or it felt like every 15 minutes. It was just a nightmare. But he really thought he did something by telling me I needed to lose weight. Crazy. Still can't forget the notes in my chart from brain surgery. She is obese. It's so reductive. I think that's the other thing that we look, at least for me personally, I should say, is I feel like in the past, I really wanted to lose weight just to be left alone for people to get to know me, to decide about me. So I wasn't just like reduced to the way I looked. People just didn't reduce me to someone who had no control and was lazy and what didn't, I mean, down to like the fact that I used to obsessively like shower and spray myself because I was worried that I looked unclean to people. Because it's almost like how they treat you? It's so reductive. And again, there's nothing wrong with saying like, you need help with, and this is after asking questions. So and so needs help with nutritional guidance. So and so needs help with pain management. So and so needs help with accessible exercise. Those are things that all contribute to health. And they are, like rather than just reducing you to a phrase, like you sit around eating Snickers bars all day, like it's just so annoying. So brushing my teeth still startles me. You know, every day is another day in paradise, right? Pictures will screw you up, but one of my favorite sayings to tell people is, and this sounds really hard to believe, but it's largely the body dysmorphia. Oh my God. I hate when you get that little like bubble in the back of your throat. It totally changes the tone of your voice, whatever. But I always say to people, if you see a gorgeous sunset, and actually done this, it's happened many times. You see this beautiful sunset, and you go to take a picture, and the picture doesn't do it justice. It looks meh. It doesn't translate, right? You're not like, actually, maybe that sunset isn't all that great. Maybe I'm just, yeah, it looks like shit. But we do that with ourselves in pictures. When again, your posing changes the perspective of how you look on camera. The lighting, the lens, the distance, the people around you, everything affects how you look in that picture. So you're not going to sit there and be like, I must look like absolute trash because this little picture came out and I don't look the best I've ever looked in it? So I think that's another reason we kind of look for that weight loss so that we could escape that, hopefully. But again, if you don't address the issue there were times you might have been smaller in the past if you relate to this and you look at yourself and back then you thought I'm so big and you look at it now and you're like I wasn't. Like I look normal as shit, So chances are you might be harshly judging yourself and even if you did lose weight, you'd still find a way to not quite feel like it was your best. So why does it matter? It's not the sunset that's shitty? It's the picture. It's not you either. I really said that and I'm like, I hope no one thinks I'm saying they're the shitty. No, the sunset isn't shitty. It's the picture that's shitty. I feel like I look different every day, 100% because we perceive ourselves so differently. First of all, we do look different depending on where we are typically in our cycle, that will absolutely affect how you look. It does not take, okay, if I want you guys to, some of you might know this already. I oddly, I love looking at like plastic surgery videos and stuff. Like since I was a kid, I just had such like I just have a fascination with like medical stuff, right? So, but look up how much filler actually gets injected for people who get facial fillers. Look at the tiny drop. This is actually, it's like a really helpful thing to look it up because you've seen some people looking crazy with the fillers, right? Like we all have someone in mind when I say that it might, different people in mind that are like, "Oh my God, yeah, like whole pillow, like the like really, not to shame or anything, but it's very obvious and it's not the best." Look up how much actual filler it takes to do that, and it's not much. So if you are retaining more water, whether it be hormonally, from salt, from having an inflammation flare up, from you walking a lot that day and sweating, there are so many reasons you could be having some kind of water retention in the face. It makes a big difference. It really doesn't take much to change up the way you look, you know? So I think it's important to note we very well may look different, you know? This reminds me of Moira from Schitt's Creek. Yes, I have a video I did. Oh my God. It was Moira for Halloween one year and I did like a lip sync to that exact speech about taking naked pictures of herself so she can look back and be like, "Damn, I love it. I'm gonna send it or like post it if I can find it." It was a couple years ago. I think I did a pretty good job too. I like threw that shit together last minute. Um Unlike this year when I was French fries and I almost like threw my back out trying to make that Halloween costume. But I wish they did a better job at educating women on how your body can crash and burn after it, keep a tighter look. Now I am aware though in case number two happens, so I feel more confident. For sure. I mean, absolutely. I'm like I said, where I feel like all you see are like the quote unquote bump only pregnancies. I feel like that's such a disservice. I did not feel well. It was very hard to think and actually like type and stuff, but I always like I tried to put myself out there as much as I could during the process to be like, "Hey, this is difficult," and then after, that's why I've been trying to be very transparent about my postpartum journey because I didn't expect any of this. Like, yes, I was told it might be a little harder on my body after, and I really hope for the best, but it's just way different. And I think emotionally there needs to be more support around that for sure. And there are definitely things I also like I would do differently or I would look at differently for baby number two, for sure. You live and you learn, right? We should start cussing out doctors for that BS. I agree. I absolutely agree. I have had doctor's appointments where I told them I'm going to argue billing for this with my insurance company and I'm leaving. That was really fun. Way more than it was so satisfying because I was like, wait, wait, wait. Bye. Yeah. Oh my God. If I wasn't like like medicated and feeling terrible, I would like if I was me right now hearing that shit from that cardiologist, forget it. It's a wrap. I buy things like pants and skirts a little bigger than I need them to maximize comfort and account for inflammation if I want to indulge. Absolutely. I think that it also, that's a really good point. I think and this brings up something I forgot I wanted to mention before, is one of the things that I maybe would have looked differently at before getting pregnant and having to deal with my body, gaining all that weight and stuff like that is when I would talk to people and they would be telling me like I miss wearing my old clothes. I don't, like I don't feel comfortable in my clothing. And mind you, I've been doing this for 10 years, so I wasn't as free with this advice when prices started like skyrocketing and everything. But I would just kind of be like, well, you can go to different thrift stores, like you can do different things, and like you should find clothes that fit the body you're in. I honestly didn't realize so much like what that feels like and having to replace things that you used to really like wearing. Like it didn't quite click the same way, you know? So I think that having clothes that are too tight on you, it's so hard to have a good body image and have that. Like when you're not comfortable in the clothing you're in, I feel like you can't help but feel like shit about yourself in general. You're not comfy. Like, and that's putting aside the neurodivergent, like I hate feeling my clothing on me, like, but I also need to feel my clothing on me. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone. Having the right fit for your clothes is like a big deal, I think. And I think it's important to mention the emotional impact of like who the hell can even go replace their whole wardrobe simply because their PCOS or their thyroid issue made them gain weight. Like that sucks. That really sucks, you know? And I would be lying if I wasn't excited to wear clothes again that like I really was happy to find. Like I curated that. I really enjoyed those pieces, you know? So looking at it from a place of like, I can't wait to wear them again, but not that I am upset with myself that I can't right now. And I've downsized a lot of shit that I really didn't care to keep that just doesn't fit me because more room for new stuff eventually. But yeah, looking at it from a different perspective, I have a lot more sensitivity to it. And buying things a little bit bigger, I'm a big fan of that because it just, feels comfy. We fluctuate. I just donated 4 full bags of clothes. That was tough. That's amazing that you did that. First of all, that's a lot of physicality to get that shit loaded up. Nobody ever expects it to be like a sweat to do it. So good job. And then also, you're able to donate it, so it's not just like you're trashing it, you know? And then also it's cathartic you know it has been cathartic, like I was saying, to like let go of a lot of those pieces because I'm not sitting here with bated breath like I must fit in the same wardrobe. I've saved the pieces I'm excited to wear and I'm excited to continue growing with it, and having better clothes. Recovering hoarder, that too. The idea of being able to like find the thrift finds now, but I have the space to do it. It's like an incentive to do that. It's the hoarding, but at least we're not just keeping everything. So, good job. Okay, guys, I know this has been a very long chat. I know we're approaching an hour, so I appreciate you staying on. I hope it was worth your time, and I hope it was helpful. I am a feedback queen, you know that, so I would love to know what you thought about this talk. Good, bad, ugly, whatever. I won't be offended. I think it's great dialogue. So, it's always a safe space to tell me what you think after these, and I appreciate you tuning in. So, have a great night, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.